Hi, it's Marcy here at historic Oakland Cemetery, and currently I am standing in the African American burial grounds. In 1866, the city of Atlanta set aside almost 3.5 acres on the north side of Oakland Cemetery where African Americans could purchase burial space. This segregation of burials by race is started almost at the beginning of Oakland's history and extended well into the 1960s. According to burial records, there are over 12,000 people of color buried at Oakland Cemetery in the historic African American burial grounds and in Potter's Field. But looking around this section, you do not see 12,000 markers. Now, it was a burial tradition to use wooden crosses or trees or shrubs or what we call grave goods, which is the personal possessions of the dead, to mark their final resting place. Oakland is an example of a Victorian garden cemetery. The Victorians like to think of death as an eternal sleep, which is kind of a comforting way to think about it, that when you just die, you go to sleep forever. A lot of the gravestones at Oakland reflect this thought. You'll see gravestones that look like beds, some that look like cradles, and a really popular type of grave marker is the pillow. An example right here is in the Slater lot in the African American burial grounds. You can see a couple of these markers over here look like little pillows. I'm standing in front of the Rucker lot in the African American burial grounds. Henry Rucker was born into slavery in Athens, Georgia. After emancipation, he came to Atlanta where he found work as a plasterer. He later invested his earnings and purchased a large barbershop, which became incredibly popular here in the city. Using this money from the barbershop, he invested in several other businesses, becoming one of the most influential businessmen in the city. Standing in front of 3 really important graves, Carrie Steele Logan, her husband Hosea Logan, and Miss Olivette Eugenia Smith Allison. Miss Olivette has one of the most unique markers here at Oakland. It's covered in elephants. Now, Miss Olivette was a director at the Carrie Steele Pitts Home, which is one of the oldest orphanages for African American children still in operation in the country. Miss Olivette loved elephants. She not only thought they were really cool animals, they also held a deeper meaning for her. Elephants are one of the few animals in the animal kingdom that when an adult elephant dies, the rest of the herd will come together to raise that orphan young. So this had a deeper symbolism for her. If you're interested in learning more African American history at Oakland Cemetery, make your way down to the African American burial grounds and call the number listed on our cell phone tour plaques to learn more about African American voices at Oakland. I'm standing in front of the 1908 Women's Comfort Station, which was a restroom for women and place to kind of hide out when it got a little too hot during those Georgia summers or a little too wet during those afternoon rainstorms. But this building was used for the first couple of decades of the 20th century, and then as the years went on, this building fell into disrepair, like a lot of the cemetery did. The Historic Oakland Foundation Preservation Team and outside contractors were able to use existing building materials to recreate elements of the 1908 Women's Comfort Station. Today, this building is open during the week. It is no longer a restroom, the toilets have been removed, but it is a temporary exhibit space where you can learn more about Oakland and Atlanta's history. I'm standing in one of 3 Jewish burial sections at Oakland Cemetery. This is Jewish Flats. Up the hill, you have Jewish Hill, and the oldest Jewish burial section at Oakland is Old Jewish Burial Grounds. We're not that original with names around here. The section behind me is land owned by the Ahadith Hakeem Synagogue. The Ahadith Hakeem Synagogue is one of Atlanta's older Jewish synagogues that it is mainly comprised of, or historically was comprised of, Jews from Eastern Europe, from Russia, who practiced Orthodox Judaism, and that is reflected in the gravestone style behind me. A lot of these grave markers have Hebrew on one side, English on the other, a lot more symbolism. You see Stars of David, urns, pitchers and basins, which mean a host of different things in Jewish symbolism. A Jewish burial tradition is to take a rock and place it on a Jewish grave. It is there as a token of remembrance. This is done in lieu of flowers or placing other grave goods on the graves of the deceased. Just saying, hey, I was here and I remember you. I'm standing in front of the final resting place of Mayor Maynard Holbrook Jackson Jr., the first African-American mayor of Atlanta and a major southern city. Mayor Jackson served 3 terms. He served from 1974 to 1982, and then again from 1990 to 1994. He's buried here in the North Public Grounds in the original 6 acres of Oakland. Maynard Jackson died in 2003 and was buried at Oakland Cemetery. In 2017, he received a new monument. This stunning 14.5-foot, 14-ton monument is made out of African-sourced honed black granite and sits on a platform of gray Georgia granite. Up at the top, you see the City of Atlanta seal, reflecting Maynard Jackson's service to Atlanta. This side of Maynard Jackson's monument faces the northeast, and it features a lot about the mayor. At the top, you see a bronze medallion with an airplane on it. Maynard Jackson was instrumental in the expansion of the Atlanta airport. The domestic terminal was renamed Hartsfield-Jackson after his death, and the international terminal is named after Maynard Jackson. Mayor Jackson made it easier for minorities and women who own businesses to get city contracts to help expand the airport. This side of the monument also features an excerpt from the poem Will by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Wilcox was one of Maynard Jackson's favorite poets. This south-facing side of Maynard Jackson's monument features a bronze medallion with the Olympic rings. The U.S. Olympic Committee considered it an honor to grace Maynard Jackson's memorial with the Olympic rings, which recognized his Olympic spirit and his role in bringing the 1996 Olympic Games to Atlanta.